Well, thank you for joining me for another ITwire.com and Alex on Tech video. I'm joined today by the co-founders of Incent. On my right is Incent's CEO and co-founder Rob Wilson, and on my left is Chief Product Officer and co-founder, as mentioned, Jins Kaduthodil, creators of Australia's first cryptocurrency. So yeah, I've got a funny name too, so I'm sorry about that, Jins. But right. Look, before we get into the details of Incent and when you first learned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, just tell us a little bit about your backgrounds in the world of planet Earth and tech.
Oh, look, in terms of planet Earth, I'm an ex-naval officer. Mm-hmm. I joined from school at the height of the Cold War in 1988.
Right. So very disciplined.
Look, to the extent I needed to be disciplined. I left the Navy having achieved my sort of ambitions within it, but within a broader context of a direction the West was taking that I was sort of less and less comfortable with. So when sort of Bitcoin came on my radar in 2012, in the wake of the financial crisis and the
5 years after that,
the Great Recession of Europe, which was ongoing. We've all forgotten now about the sovereign debt crisis out there. I was all ears when a completely new financial instrument sort of came onto the market.
Yeah, I mean, Australia's still suffering from that sovereign debt crisis. We're half a trillion in debt because of those early days.
Look, the whole of the planet has been altered fundamentally. The Arab Spring is a direct result of the sovereign debt crisis in Europe. And the Arab Spring has spawned the crisis in Syria, and the crisis in Syria gave ISIS reason to exist. Yeah. And the problem that ISIS have posed has led to domestic terrorism in the Northern Hemisphere, which has led to the rise of Donald Trump and the decision to leave the European Union. There's all sorts of aftershocks.
Yeah,
and I suppose we're at the end yet.
Yeah, and we can't forget all of the various debt crises in certain European countries where they just have too much debt. In the US itself, 20 trillion in debt. All that money thankfully hasn't washed necessarily into the price of milk and bread, although grandparents and great-grandparents were paying 5 cents and 10 cents and things like that. When I was at school, $10 would buy me lunch for a week. Now it doesn't buy you a Happy Meal. And we're lucky in a way, in inverted commas, that all of that money has washed into house prices. But that's bad for the young people trying to buy a house.
Right, I mean, that's one outcome, but I think that if you're suggesting that we're out of the woods...
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I mean, 20 trillion in debt, how do you fix that?
Well, I think the bigger problem is if you wash trillions of extra dollars into the economy.
Yeah, it's got to go somewhere.
It's asset bubbles first, but as we unwind, that's the real issue, and that's just starting to happen, and we're seeing the share markets react right now.
And this is why cryptocurrencies have been an alternative to traditional gold and silver. But look, before we delve more deeply into that, Jins, what's your bit about your history?
Well, I'm not a naval officer by any chance, but long-term tech guy. Been in tech from day one, engineering. But I started off in defence.
That's how we met.
Well, after that actually, I started off in defence, and I moved to consulting, and I did a project for Rob here. And we just became really good friends, and he mentioned Bitcoin to me. Out of all people, I was like, I didn't know about it. Oh, I knew about it, but I didn't really take much to it at the time.
And that would have been about the same time frame, 2012?
Yeah, 2013, about a year after.
Yeah.
But then I moved on and started a few other startups, mainly in the fintech space as well.
Which is a good foundation for this?
Yeah, 100%. The foundation for me was really trying to help one of my friends get out of debt themselves. So trying to solve which I guess trying to solve today. I built a few prototype versions of what Acorns and all that Raise and all that is today. Wrong timing at the time. Yeah, just didn't work out. But went on to do another few startups, and I got approached by Rob a couple of years ago to make this venture something real. So I guess I'm putting everything that I've learned from all my engineering and my startups into this now.
Which is how history and evolution goes. I mean, everything you've learned before is leading you to today. So you guys started Australia's first cryptocurrency in late 2016, and you also had the foresight to launch the first crypto/blockchain customer rewards platform. That's kind of what Incent stands for, incentivize. So, what was it like to be the first? And what was the experience like? I mean, it was also a startup. And what advice, after you tell us about that, do you have for startups? But we can get to that a bit later. But, what was the experience like of being the first cryptocurrency in Australia in the wake of Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the others?
We need to take a step back.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess where I was coming from was I was looking for mainstream problems that crypto could solve.
Yeah, which is a smart thing to do. Try and solve a real world problem. Yeah,
right. Because what I wanted to do was use an existing mainstream entity as a servo to push crypto into the hands of ordinary people, so that they could enjoy that feeling that you get with sovereign wealth, that hope, that burst of hope that happens when you get your hands on crypto. And Jins, on the other hand, his mission was to do something about the savings crisis that he was watching within his peer group. So that's why we came together, because the mission is coherent across the two of us. Where loyalty is concerned, you're looking at an industry which is very tired, that hasn't really changed since the 1980s, and uses as its fuel the most restricted form of value there is. Essentially digital buttons that only have any currency back with the issuer.
Points.
Yeah.
Right, so...
And we see a lot of points inflation. I mean, the amount of points you see on these loyalty schemes or cancellation. But on every time I see a deal for Qantas with another 100,000 points for something, I think, no wonder you can't use your points to buy anything worthwhile, because they're being inflated out of existence.
Right.
So Zimbabwe currencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So our view was, if we could find a way of making it really simple for a merchant to offer true value as opposed to fake value, then they might find themselves in a situation where they had materially improved their consumers' or their audience's lives, and that audience would come back to them not because they had to, but because they wanted to. And that really hasn't changed. I mean, that is our offer. Jins' genius is to bring that concept to life technically, so it is genuinely possible for any partner to seamlessly bring on this innovative rewards mechanism and increase either engagement or consumption, or whatever their business is. Whatever that aim is, they can meet it quickly and simply.
So what's briefly some of the technical details behind Incent? What's the blockchain platform it's using? What's its value? How many tokens are there? How many coins are there? Yeah.
So we use the Waves blockchain, which is opposed to the Ethereum and Bitcoin blockchains. We've minted 46 million. Now, the way we've done that as well is we can't actually create any more. It's a finite supply. You don't actually need to do any mining for it, so they're all out there and publicly available. You can buy them off exchanges as well.
Yeah.
So we aren't the ones controlling it. We don't own it. It's publicly owned, or it's publicly out there for anyone to buy and sell. We use the Waves blockchain mainly because of the high speed. Waves was built for a banking transactional sort of system.
Yeah, I mean, blockchain is famously slow, and there's now claims that it's bad for the environment because people are having to have these massive mining farms chewing up a lot of electricity. So clearly you've chosen a system that is much more efficient and faster.
Yes, it's not only efficient, it's faster, it's also cheaper as well to operate. It makes it very, very easy to do, especially nano transactions or micro transactions. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to use it as well.
Well, that's been one of the problems on the internet.
It's worth saying that Waves' way of being is fundamentally different to many in crypto, in that they adopt a model of centralized, command and decentralized execution, which resonates certainly with me as a military officer. They develop very quickly through a centralized entity at their headquarters, and they, as a result of that, bring on features robustly and very quickly, and they are, without a shadow of doubt, the fastest production blockchain out there.
And I guess from a mass market adoption perspective, it's actually quite important to have at least a central authority to managing just the basics around it. Bitcoin's been great in its I guess stardom, but without that centralization, just to help control and navigate the issues from a day-to-day, everyday person's perspective, it hasn't really gotten the grips that it should have. And that's where we believe that using the Waves blockchain has helped us a lot.
It's also worth, it's great from us from the point of view of building something, but it's also worth noting that once an individual possesses cryptocurrency, moving within that system to transfer it to another token or currency, Bitcoin if you like, is easy. So, really, where crypto is concerned, we're interested in providing the on-ramp. We want to make it as simple and fast and frictionless for ordinary people to enjoy the benefits of cryptocurrency without really having to understand what's under the bonnet. I mean, you don't understand how your Visa card works, right? And you could care less. You just trust that it does. And so, we've adopted the same philosophy really with the delivery of our tech.
Yeah, the background philosophy really is push everything to the background. How do we make it completely status quo?
Look, when technology has succeeded when it just becomes an invisible everyday part of life.
That's right.
So you're trying to make it have the same sort of thing happen. And presumably there's some sort of, there are various exchanges where you can trade your Incent for dollars, for Bitcoins, for whatever you want.
Yeah, we've been very, pretty circumspect about that. We forged a relationship with Bittrex, an entity in the United States who are, I think, one of the top 3 or 4 exchanges on the planet. They have the same philosophy of us. They have great security, and we focused on that relationship. So we haven't at this point wished to proliferate our exchange presence beyond that key partnership. We've got to put a lot of time into making that partnership as strong as it can be. There might be a moment, as we scale, to review that decision, but we like the way that sits at the moment.
So what sort of development team do you need to create your own cryptocurrency and keep all the infrastructure running? It can't just be you, Jins.
No,
Smart as though you are.
So I would start by saying creating a cryptocurrency is the work of minutes. And building, what Jins has built has been the work of 2 years.
Yeah. And scaling it and all the rest, and making it robust.
That's right. So one of the decisions we made early on was to actually build our team here in-house. So we have a team of about 8 engineers.
And they're all based here in Australia?
They're all right here.
All here in Sydney?
All here right in the office, so it's pretty good. Building a platform that's accessible by everyone is the hardest part. Bitcoin, Ethereum, again, they're all great, but the fundamental issue, and I actually remember saying this to Rob on one of my first meetings, is nobody cares about the Bitcoin or blockchain side of it, but people do care about how to use it, how it's in their hands. So designing and developing a system that takes care of all the security, that manages the account systems for them, that manages the onboarding and offboarding to get into and out of crypto, has to be completely easy and seamless. So that took a lot of engineering effort and a lot of architecting and thinking a lot out of the crypto box and saying, actually, it's great that crypto is there, but what do real people care about? And real people care about value, and how do we get that perceived value into, or that real value into their minds and hearts through using crypto instead.
And just for those who are wondering, I mean, you can store Incent coins inside of CoinJar or Nano Ledgers or all the traditional wallets?
Not yet.
You can certainly store them on a Waves wallet, and there are a number of those to choose from.
Yeah. I just know because I've got friends that have used CoinJar and asked me to help them with Nano Ledgers, and this is when the Bitcoin was going crazy, and they're I want to take it offline. So I mean, I'm just asking from
you can certainly move your Incent tokens through an offline wallet and mine the keys, etc. yourself.
Which the technical people will want to know.
Absolutely,
of course. Yeah.
But to Jins's point, you simply cannot deliver a mass market solution to both merchants and consumers if you are not prepared to mine their security and wash their back. You have to take that job on. And it's been the work of 2 years to put a team together little by little that had the skill set to both build it and mine that effectively what amounts to an online bank. I mean, there's literally no difference.
Yeah. Now you have done a deal with a company called Gfinity. I'll get to that in a moment. But you've got the loyalty program. You say it's going to deliver better value than traditional loyalty programs. So who are the companies that have signed up for this, and how easy is it for a company to sign up to start offering this loyalty program to their customers?
Yeah, so
and accept Incent payments.
Yeah, sure. So our initial pilot launch has been local, and we've done that because we understand that there are bound to be teething issues, and developing that that final sort of coming out of beta needs personal contact.
Because that's your testimonial for future customers who,
Of course,
all of that. That's
Right, we have to be
101.
right. We understand that we have to be able to deliver that full end-to-end service and pull the value through to the consumer. So that's what we've done on the bricks and mortar front. In terms of online, we've partnered with an affiliate marketer to allow people to earn Incent when they shop online, and I think we're just going into the engagement space now.
Sure. After 2 years, you're ready to go. The technology's been polished, and now it's time for real world deployments. And one of those is the aforementioned Gfinity. So, who are Gfinity, and why is this such an exciting deal?
Well, look, I'll give it a go. Why do we like eSports? We like eSports because the demographics are really tight fit.
And quickly, that's what Gfinity is, an eSports company.
Gfinity is an eSports broadcaster, Australia's biggest, I believe.
Yeah. And the eSports is huge. It's all those kids who are told by their parents, get off the computer. A very small proportion of those are sports e-athletes, I guess, and they're the ones who say to their parents, see, it was worth it. But so you've done a deal with an esports company, which is huge.
Why do we like Gfinity?
Yeah.
They're a great young team. They're local. They are innovative. They're well supported by HT&E, so they've got a great sort of backer who's right behind them every step of the way.
So they're broadcasting the esports. So where does Incent fit in? I've written an article about this. People can read it. I'll link to that. But it's just nice to hear it directly from you.
So I guess the way the Incent fits into this whole thing is it's all about being paid for watching.
So normally you have a pay-per-view where you've got to pay to see some UFC or some fighter, but here you're getting paid to watch. So that's a unique concept.
That's right. I guess we're turning the engagement model around by saying...
Disrupting. I love that.
Not the word, but sure. But by saying that you get rewarded for staying tuned and being engaged with what you're watching. We know with esports, it's still an emerging market, and there's a lot of people coming into the space, but staying engaged and staying on tune is still a tricky aspect. So companies like Gfinity and HT&E, they're looking at opportunities to try and keep people there watching. So the way that works is, as you watch the live stream broadcast, there'll be certain Incent drop codes that get dropped throughout the broadcast, and in real time, a user can, on their phone, in a computer, wherever they're watching it, can jump onto our platform and type that code in, and they get instantly given cryptocurrency for putting that code straight through.
And so, what's the amount that you would get?
It's going to be ranging. It could be as little as 10 cents. It could be as high as $12,000. Really.
So there's an incentive to stay tuned in.
It's all about gamifying the experience of watching, right?
That is one of the top buzzwords of 2018 and the last few years, because it's real, but now it's really happening, this gamification.
But I think that there's a deeper point here which is worth alighting on, and that is the fact that we all know through our personal experience that our attention is being competed for by innumerable publishers. Whether it be that, look, it's just nuts, right? We are at a stage in the digital evolution where we are being bamboozled as consumers with information from every quarter.
We don't have enough eyeballs, thumbs, screens to take it all in. We have to divide our time.
It is our view that sooner or later, publishers, if they want those eyeballs, are going to have to start putting their hands in their pockets in exactly the same way as commerce does to secure the deal.
I guess the biggest difference here is traditionally it's been very hard for publishers and broadcasters like this to incentivize their direct customers and direct consumers. Now they can, and they can keep them there, keep them watching. So not only do they have to produce good content, but they can now provide incentive to keep watching that content longer and longer and longer as well.
Having to pay people to watch your content is certainly changing around. Compelling content is not enough, because everyone's got compelling content.
That's right.
And so yes, it's an amazing thing. So at the moment, the Incent tokens and the currency that people are getting it's a store of value. They can save they can put money into the system, they can earn it. Can they spend it anywhere yet, or is it aside from converting it into
well, I think the
other
point
currencies?
is they can offboard to real currency.
Yeah.
They can make that real in the jurisdiction they happen to be in.
And soon
very,
there
very
will
quickly.
be places that will accept Incent,
Yes.
as just like that places accept Bitcoin, etc. But this is the beginning.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
but I also think that it's the point is we're talking about real value here, which can be offboarded more easily to currency wherever you are.
You can turn it to dollars and spend it on whatever you want.
So when we think about loyalty, we're pre-programmed to imagine that if I give you this, you have to give it back to me. What we're saying, no.
Yeah, spend it wherever you want.
Give
Yeah, that's
consumers a digital asset that they
Yeah.
can do what they want with. Don't give them a button digital button that has to come back to you. That's not a deal.
No,
That's
that's
just a
a lock and
consumption.
chain.
Absolutely right.
So how did you guys meet with the eSports Gfinity guys? Did they meet you? Did you meet them? And how far do you see this relationship going? I guess all the way.
Well, look, I mean, we have our own business development, expertise on board, and we're out and about in the market, and we spot something that we might like the look of, and we make a phone call. I mean, that's how these things happen.
Sure.
In terms of
Where do we have
where do we go from here? That's really exciting. Again, I gotta say that the front end tech that Jins' team have put together is transferable to literally any publisher. Well, they might be a streamer, they might be a radio show, they
It
might
might
be
be
a
an
TV.
online publication like ITY. It could be.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you,
I mean, I haven't heard of this happening before. This really, at least to me, is a first.
Yeah, but again, our philosophy, or Jins' philosophy, is to make it as simple as possible for both consumer and merchant to participate. I think that Gfinity is going to, or this association is within the space of 7 weeks going to produce some amazing figures about what can be done. And I think that will be gold.
Yeah.
We are positioning to move, with anyone who would like to, leverage that tech.
Emulate it.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
And obviously, when you're dealing in the digital domain, you have analytics. We have augmented analytics these days. So there must be huge amounts of data that you're able to harvest and then share with your partners, and obviously in a way that maintains privacy and all the rest. But what are the
I think
opportunities there to drive deeper customer
Yeah,
engagement?
we've got a lot to say about that.
Flexible.
We've all lived through Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
believe that
Facebook's Google Plus, they didn't tell us for months.
That's right.
right. Consumers. I think our view is that consumers don't mind or like the opportunity to control and monetize their data, and that's essentially what we do. We have to through because of legislation understand because of AML KYC a lot about all of our users, and we are paying for them for that for the right to know that about them. That strikes us as an honest deal, understood by both parties going in. It is not this sort of underhand sign up, by the way, now.
Give me all your contacts, give me all your photos, let me record from your microphone, that we suspect Facebook of doing.
I guess one of our philosophies has been how do we make it so transparent so that consumers know what they're getting on the other end. They're using a service, but they also know that they're also providing their data for that. One of the concepts that we're looking to explore as well is how do we provide the means for consumers to even monetize their own data to other merchants or other businesses.
I'd love to know how to do that.
So imagine if you could actually, every time your email or name or gender or something got used that personally identifies you, you got paid a little bit of royalty.
It's a bit like
as a form of royalty fee.
It's a bit like those photographic stock photo libraries where photographers take photos of a million things, and then suddenly you see that guy or girl on every poster because that guy struck it lucky with a great person. But look, being able to get royalties like that would be something that we'd all love to do. It's that long tail effect that publishers talk about, but it has been unavailable at present to the end user.
In the meantime, it is a fact that anyone streaming through Twitter, on YouTube, or on television or radio, they literally know nothing. They know nothing about their listeners or their audience.
Except the username, maybe.
Yeah.
And so, we can,
Twitter might know,
with the
but
user's consent, we can start providing that information. And you're absolutely right. At the moment, these huge infrastructure providers know an awful lot.
Well, some people say they know more about us than we know about ourselves.
Right.
So, we've also got, I guess I'll ask you about the future. I mean, I always like to talk about the future and what might happen in 10 years. I hear people talking about how Bitcoin is poised to, go from 20,000 this time last year to 40,000 this year. There's going to be this big rise, and I hear ads on American radio to join these crypto classes to learn, and you should own at least $100 in cryptocurrency because you just don't know where it's going to go. And I guess all of that is true, and we don't know where crypto is going to go. But how do you think the market will evolve over the next decade with the different your competing blockchain platforms and the other currencies, and where do you think Gfinity will be in a decade, without giving any secrets away to your competitors? Just the crystal ball.
There's a lot of questions there.
Yeah.
I think that crypto enjoyed a huge boom in 2017, and those an awful lot of projects are now underway as a result of that of that investment. Yeah. But it's too early to see who will succeed and who will not.
It's like that Gartner peak of inflated expectations before we have the trough of disillusionment and then the plateau of productivity.
Right. Right now you're seeing businesses that help onboard people to crypto exchanges and transfer their crypto are having in their heyday, right? But it's too early to see what blockchain will deliver, for example, in the supply chain. So there's any number of things that might happen there. More generally, if you take the view that, as I do, that we are a long way from the final shockwaves of the GFC, and indeed that we may well be entering a period of rapid price inflation. And general sort of poor economic health, leaving aside the Trumpian, sort of dismantling of globalization. So we even set that aside. Then I think I can't see a reason why cryptocurrency wouldn't continue to provide a safe haven for people that want to hold their own sovereign wealth in the same way that people hoard bullion. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and there's not enough gold to go around. It's all being hoarded by the Chinese and the Indians. Sucking up great amounts of it.
Where Gfinity are concerned, I wouldn't want to speak for them, but I think they've got a great foothold in a huge growth industry. And it's interesting when you look into the stats of who actually enjoys gaming. Well, do you know what? It's basically everyone.
Yeah, all age groups. Yeah.
It really is, and to imagine that that the focus is millennial would be incorrect, or even worse, young millennial. People of all ages enjoy gaming in its various forms. So I think Gfinity are brilliantly placed.
But before the millennium came about, I mean, the internet kicked off 93, 94, 95. Windows 95 really took it off. Started the ball rolling, and I remember at the time there was this phenomenon of silver surfers. People in their 60s and 70s finding out that they could Skype chat or ICQ, and they talk to people on on basically long distance CB radio. And I mean, technology appeals to all ages, so it should. Some of these people have been seeing technology for the first time. They haven't seen technology in all of their lives that mature the way it has. And even my mother now talks to our Alexa, Google Home, Siri, and she's happy to converse with them. And technology appeals to all ages, and so it should. I mean, it's never been easier. My mother still wants to learn to touch type, and it's like, Mum, you talk to the computer now. What do you want to touch type for?
I think the future is going to have to be where it gets embedded into people's lives. Yeah. So the cryptocurrency companies or the blockchain companies that will win are the ones that just are part of everyone's normal day lives. You mentioned all those voice assistants. It's starting to become normal, right?
Yeah.
It's how do you make cryptocurrency just a normal way of thinking?
So as we get to the second last question, I always like to just sort of shift gears a little bit and sort of more humanize us all here at this table, and just ask you to please share what's some of the best advice that you've received to help you get where you are today. I don't know who wants to go first.
Oh, Jins, give it a go.
I think probably my first ever manager, actually.
Yeah.
He mentioned to me, remember the exact words, but he said, make things easy for your customer.
Yeah.
Or whoever it was. And, I was working in government and defence at the time, and I didn't really understand what that meant when I was quite junior, but even then it was to try and make, if the senior manager I was talking to, or another partner that I was working to, or a contract that I was working with, how do I make it easy for them to work with? And I think that's the biggest thing that I've always used in my life. How do I make interactions or projects or solutions or anything just easy for other people to work with?
It reminds me of that thing about how you've got to put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
They talk about walking 1,000 miles in someone else's shoes, and when you're 1,000 miles away, you've got their shoes. You can. I don't think I quite said that right, but it's a silly joke. But Rob, and that's very good, Jins. But Rob,
I would say build team. Teams and teamwork have been at the heart of anything I've ever achieved. I think if you put the right people in the room, you'll get there. We've invested here in building a team that has become an enlarged family, and putting them in an environment which we hope promotes teamwork and building a culture which is about more than the bottom line. I think if you build team, certainly you're putting yourself in the best possible place.
Yeah. I mean, they do say that one man or one woman can change the world, but really we were put on this planet to work together as teams, to use our various skills and abilities in concert with others, because it's together that we're a greater force. Well, you guys are a clear embodiment of that.
Thank you.
So what is your final message to IT Wire viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Oh, I'd say it's pretty simple, right? You may have been looking at cryptocurrency for an awful long time, and there's always been a hurdle that you weren't prepared to jump over, because it's quite a prolonged process. Listen, if you enjoy eSports, then we have the ability for you to get rewarded with cryptocurrency
In the fastest way possible, yeah. So jump online and start watching.
Well, Jins and Rob, thank you very much for your time, and best of luck for the crypto future.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.